Hey, welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Think Thursday is all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. We're talking neuroscience. We're talking behavior change. We are talking about your mindset. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello, it's Molly, and you are listening to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist. If you are new here, then welcome. And if you are a regular, then you know that Think Thursday is all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. It's about understanding your brain. And uh, we talk about mindset and neuroscience and reshaping your belief system, really, especially when life can feel a little bit messy. And today we're talking about something that I think every single one of us has experienced. And that is when a habit feels truly unbreakable. If you have listened around here for any length of time, you've heard me talk about my unbreakable daily drinking habit. And but what I want to talk about today isn't exclusive to just alcohol. It's really anything that feels unbreakable. Maybe it's evening snacking, maybe it's procrastinating, maybe it's not working out. The behavior itself doesn't matter nearly as much as what we believe about it and what we believe it says about us. It's that story that we tell ourselves that is often the real thing that is keeping us stuck. And so I want to dive into that and learn more about it. More importantly, what it is, negative self-talk, and how can we change it. Let's start with the truth that is not said often enough, and I want you to hear it. Your brain is not broken. It is, in fact, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Our brains are built for efficiency. They are pattern recognition machines, and they are constantly looking for ways to save energy and to automate decisions. And once a behavior has been repeated often enough, your brain files it under habit so that you don't have to think about it anymore. That isn't a failure, it's truly a necessary function. And the challenge is that the brain doesn't sort habits into helpful or harmful. It sorts them into familiar and unfamiliar. And that's it. So even when something is creating stress, shame, stuckness, your brain will still default to it simply because it's efficient. And that default mode, it's shaped not just by your routines, but by something that is even older and deeper. And that is your evolutionary biology. So let's take a quick tour back in time, shall we, to the ancient brain and talk about the negativity bias. Way back when our ancestors were living in caves and their survival depended on being hyper aware of danger, if you miss a sign of a predator, then game over, right? You are dead. So the brain evolved with what psychologists call the negativity bias, which is a tendency to notice, remember, and react more strongly to negative experiences. That is something that is hardwired into your primitive brain. Now we fast forward to today, and we don't have to be as worried about predators, eating us if we make a mistake. But our brains are still wired with that. Our lower brains are still wired to anticipate threats with that evolutionary brain. And that includes internal threats as well. Threats like failure, threats like rejection, threats like feeling shame. And that means that our brain is on high alert for anything that feels like a risk, including trying something new, stepping out of a comfort zone, or changing a deeply ingrained habit. And the result is that you hyperfocus on the one day that you didn't follow your plan while completely ignoring the 5 days that you did, right? That is the brain in this negativity bias wanting to keep you stuck because it feels safer and more familiar to your habited, patterned, automated part of your brain. So you repeat things like, I knew I'd blew it. I always do this. I'm just not good at change. That's not because you're overly negative. It's because your brain has evolved to keep you safe. It's not necessarily happier, but it is more peaceful and it feels easier, right? But the good news is that once we understand how the system works, we can stop reacting automatically and start responding intentionally. Your brain really truly believes what you tell it. And that's why self talk, and especially negative self talk, is so powerful. In a 2010 review in Clinical Psychology Review, uh, a study showed that frequent self critical thinking was strongly associated with lower success in health behavior change and emotional resilience. In another study published in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, it showed that people who were engaged in more negative self talk experienced higher levels of stress and were less likely to follow through on health related goals. So, what you say to yourself, your negative self talk matters. It is simple but profound. Your brain treats repetition, like the repetition of your thoughts, as evidence. So even if your behavior doesn't say something, if you continually tell yourself the same stories like, I can't do it, I always mess up, your brain sees that as evidence and it doesn't question it. It stores it, it believes it, and it builds habits around it. The thought becomes data, the data becomes belief, and your belief becomes your identity. And the reason that's so important is because I want you to hear me. It isn't because you want to try to explain yourself away because of the actions that you're taking. I am telling you that your thoughts drive your feelings, which drive your actions. You have to change your thinking first, even without evidence. You just have to tell yourself, I just think that way because that's the way I've always thought. I'm ready to interrupt that pattern. And here is a way that you can do it. Habits get reinforced not just through that behavior, but through the narrative. And that's why we can interrupt the pattern by changing our belief system. How do we do it? I teach a tool in my programs called the 4S New Belief System. It's not magic. It's not motivational fluff. It's a practical framework based in what we know about cognitive restructuring and neuroplasticity. This is how it works. Step one is see. We have to see. So these 4 S's, right? The first one is see. Start by identifying the automatic thought. Maybe it's, I'll never be able to change this. Don't push it away. Don't shame yourself for thinking that way. Just see it. Noticing it is the first and most essential step. Recognizing that you are doing the negative self-talk, right? Next step is to soothe. Now, I understand this is probably the hardest part for some people. It is to normalize the thought. You want to tell yourself, it makes sense that I think that I'll never be able to change this because I've believed it for years and I've practiced it over and over again. The reason that it's important to soothe yourself and not be mad at yourself for the negative self-talk. All right? And trust me, I have had a long standing habit in my life of negative self-talk. And I literally have to tell myself that I am not telling a truth. I am just telling a story. And I just need to believe, be willing to be wrong about it. Because I tend to really believe what I tell myself, and I like to tell myself a lot of negative stories. So, and when I find myself doing it now because I've been a coach for years and I still catch myself with this negative self-talk, a lot of times my first reaction is to get frustrated with myself or angry at myself for the negative self-talk. That is not productive either. So you have to soothe. I have to remind myself, this is normal. This is just my brain. This is my lower, beautiful, primitive brain throwing up some old thinking that keeps me stuck, which keeps me safe, but isn't who I want to be anymore. And when we normalize the thought, it makes sense that this is that I think like this, that I've believed it for years. It helps quiet our nervous system, right? I don't feel frustrated and anxious anymore, and it keeps my doors open, the literal brain doors of my brain open to change. Step 3 is separate. And this is where we have to separate out our subjective thoughts about whatever actions or things that we've done or negative self talk that we're having. We have to separate out all of that negative the subjective feelings, and just get down to the neutral observation, the data. It's not a judgment. We want to get a clear lens of the facts. So instead of just, I blew it, I didn't follow my plan last night, or I always screw up, I never go when I say I'm going to, we want to just make it clear what happened. I didn't go to the gym this morning, right? We want to separate the story that we're telling about something away from the neutral facts. So we've got see, soothe, separate. And the last one is step 4 is shift. We want to practice a next best thought. Not something wildly optimistic that you don't believe, like I'll go to the gym every day next week, right? Just something slightly better. This is just something I'm thinking right now. It's not the whole story. That's a way to soothe yourself and to remind yourself and start thinking something different. I'm willing to be wrong about it, that I am always like this, or that I totally blew it. I'm willing to be wrong. Start shifting your belief system from those absolutes into something that feels better. What am I willing to do today? Ask yourself questions. That's another way that we can shift old beliefs. It's when we weaken those old neural pathways, not only around our behavior, but around our thinking, that we're able to build new ones. And that right there is what turns unbreakable into unlearning. Here's what I want you to walk away with. You're not behind, you're not broken, and your habit is not unbreakable. You are actually becoming. And if your brain can learn one pattern, it can learn another. If it can repeat one story, it can rewrite it into a better one. And this is the real work, not just shifting what you do, but shifting what you believe is possible for you. That's where peace begins, and that's what we're here to do. If this episode gave you something to think about, then please share it. And if you want help practicing believing new things in your life, I would love to have you join us in our Facebook group, the Alcohol Minimalist Facebook group, or come check out my ongoing monthly group coaching program. It's called Making Peace with Alcohol. That's all I got for you on this episode of Think Thursday. Until next time, choose peace, my friends, and I will see you on Monday.